A colossal migrant caravan recently poured across the Rio Grande and into the streets of El Paso, Texas, and the people and the police didn't know what to do about it. It is truly a massive invasion. Any form of amnesty now would be a catastrophe. It rewards Joe Biden's lawlessness, and it rewards the criminal cartels, and it rewards everyone who has broken the laws of our nation, because they've never done anything to our country like they're doing right now. Our country is being poisoned. Remember, our border is not open because of insufficient resources or legal authorities. Our border is open because Joe Biden has ordered it to be open, and because Biden has broken the law and torn it into shreds. He has shredded our system, and he's destroying our country. Biden inherited a flawless deportation system that was working like never before. In our history, we never did so well on the border as we were doing just a short time ago under the Trump administration.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, Biden is taking a whole lot of heat for this visit to the border. He might as well have just stuck to his original strategy and just not visit the border, right? Instead of this photo op that he took at the border, pretending like everything is all good. And I'm gonna tell you guys, this photo op was so bad that even the mainstream liberal media is heavily criticizing Joe Biden for this border visit and his plan on immigration, and the fact that, you know, there's a lot of hypocrisy going on here when it comes to how Biden is visiting the border, but he's not going to see certain migrants who are in very, very, very bad living conditions, despite virtue signaling under Trump when there were so-called kids in cages, and how all the Democrats ran to the border, right, to go visit. But now none of them want to be seen at the border. They treat the illegals just like they treat the blacks, right? They only care about them. They only love them when they can be used for a political gain. When they can't be used for a political gain, or it's negative, it looks bad for them, they ignore them, okay? Even the mainstream liberal media is calling Biden out on this border visit. It's really embarrassing. Almost just as embarrassing as Biden when he pulled up to El Paso and he spoke to a Salvation Army officer, in which he talked about being with Secret Service in Poland and Ukraine or something like that.
And here we have folks from the Salvation Army who also
Secret Service, Poland, Secret Service.
Yeah, so another brain dead moment from Biden, or just a flat out lie. Who knows? We won't find out, because apparently the mainstream liberal media doesn't care when Democrats lie. But if a Republican lies, aka George Santos, they lose their mind and they call him a white supremacist, right? When Joe Biden lies, oh, well, you know, he's just old, right? But don't question his mental health capabilities, or you might be ageist, right? According to Sonny Holston. However, again, the mainstream media is giving Biden some heat here for the border crisis, specifically when it comes to the fact that he is not as concerned about the migrants who are sleeping on the streets of El Paso, okay, who are living in bad conditions as they were concerned under Trump. In fact, listen to CNN call out Biden for not even going as far as to visit these illegals that they claim that they loved so much when Trump was in office. Take a look.
President Biden, my colleague MJ Lee asked the White House about the president not interacting or meeting with any migrants, and a senior administration official told her that it was because there were no migrants at the respite center at the time that the president visited, and that it was coincidental. But Poppy, I checked the migrant dashboard that the city of El Paso has, and at the time when the president was here, there were nearly 1,000 migrants who were in federal detention. So if the president really wanted to see conditions, I kind of doubt that the president of the United States would have been denied access. Poppy?
Right. And just it's remarkable what we're seeing behind you, Rosa. Those are migrants sleeping on the street of El Paso, right?
You're absolutely right. And we've seen this for weeks. And if the president would have stopped by here, he would have seen that there are hundreds of people, and you see them here behind me, hundreds of people living in the streets of America, I should highlight. This is a city in America, in the United States. And the top executive of this country came here. He did not came to see this.
Rosa Flores, we're glad you're there and continue to be there to show it to us. Thank you for the reporting.
Yeah, because Biden definitely don't want to be seen there, right? He definitely does not want to be seen there because according to the media, right, according to the press, and they asked the White House about this, they confronted the White House about this, the living conditions are worse than anything they ever seen under Trump. You know how much Democrats complain about how bad the conditions were under Trump, right? The media, the press is saying that they're worse under Joe Biden.
Just following up on the border, I spent a long time covering immigration stuff during the Trump years. I never saw more damning quotes from immigration advocacy groups and human rights groups during the Trump years as I saw yesterday towards this administration. Just reading one to you, Eleanor Acer, who's one of the leading advocacy people, heads up a refugee group, called what the president did yesterday a humanitarian disgrace. And that was echoed across the board in literally scores of emails I got from every humanitarian group. What does the administration say to the overwhelming consensus from people who advocate on behalf of asylum seekers and refugees and migrants that what the president did yesterday was a humanitarian disgrace?
Well, obviously we take a different view. What we would say is that this is a president who understands that safe and legal immigration into this country is a key cornerstone of our own security and prosperity, and that he is advancing ways to improve those legal pathways to entry. I mean, he dramatically increased the number of refugees that we're willing to take in from nations in the hemisphere. He also improved the process by which people seeking asylum can do that in, again, a legal, safe way. And we're also obviously have to make sure that it's legal migration we're focused on, and that the illegal migration is curbed as best as we can through more stringent enforcement mechanisms. So,
AKA the Supreme Court forcing the Biden administration to keep Title 42 in place, despite the fact that the Biden administration fought to have it taken away and was going to let it expire without a fight. Again, the Supreme Court seems to be the last institution in this country that I can have any faith in whatsoever, okay? And I got just a little faith in the Supreme Court. But yeah, I mean, clearly this is a crisis. But again, if you listen to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, he's saying that it's not a crisis. And CNN also called him out on that as well, too.
Would you, Secretary, qualify what is happening on the border right now as a crisis?
You know, we have seen the situation at the border managed in an orderly way. We have seen it in extraordinarily challenging circumstances as well. You can rest assured, Poppy, that we're doing everything that we possibly can to build a system that provides humanitarian relief in a safe and orderly way while trying to persuade Congress to fix what is a broken system.
I understand that, but just what you're seeing, what you've seen the 20 times you've been there, the record number of migrants at the southern border, and last year it was nearly 2.4 million. If that's not a crisis, Secretary, what is? You know,
Poppy, we have seen 2.4 million encounters at our southern border, and it is reflective of the greatest level of displacement of people in the world since World War II. It is reflective of a migration challenge that is gripping the entire hemisphere. When I was in Colombia, I spoke with the president of the country, the foreign minister, the minister of security, and they spoke of 2.4 million Venezuelans in Colombia now. We are seeing Costa Rica's population increasingly formed by Nicaraguans. We're seeing a tremendous movement of people throughout the hemisphere. And a regional challenge requires a regional solution, which is why President Biden has led the regional leaders in addressing it.
I understand that, Mr. Secretary, but this is in the hands of you now and the Biden administration. I would just finally say that border officials have been consistently telling Rosa Flores, our colleague, they feel abandoned by this administration, by the federal government. So why has it taken 2 years for President Biden to go to the southern border?
Poppy, we have been dedicating our efforts to the situation at the border since day one.
Lie, right? Nothing but lies and cap, okay? That's all it is. What is Biden's plan? Well, let me tell you guys his plan. Biden announced a new set of policies to allow 30,000 migrants per month from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to enter the country and be able to work legally for up to 2 years. Basically, like I told you guys before, Biden has been letting in Venezuelans, particularly a lot, okay? I mean, the border is basically open for Venezuelans, and that's why so many Venezuelans are trying to come in over the border, because basically they can get in on claiming to be seeking asylum, and that is why we're having this border crisis, okay? It is because, quite literally, we are letting them into the country, right? So all of them are literally coming from Venezuela up into Colombia. A lot of them are staying in Colombia, okay? And they're waiting in Colombia to be able to come to the United States. But the ones that say, I don't want to wait in Colombia, I'm just going to go up through, Mexico, that is what they're doing. They're going to the border because they're being let in because they're Venezuelan. That's what's happening. Biden's also sending an additional 100 Border Patrol agents, and he's also continuing to enforce Title 42 because the Supreme Court made him, right? That's the big plan, right? That is the big plan from the Biden administration. But again, what I find to be absolutely fascinating about this is just how, again, the Democrats, when they have their own border crisis, none of them want to go to the border, right? They all are, pretending like it doesn't exist. It took 2 years for Biden to go to the border when you had people like AOC and a whole lot of other Democrats rushing down to the border under Trump when there was a perceived border crisis, which it really was just a migrant surge. And there were kids in cages, right? They were all down there taking photo ops, right? AOC crying at the border. Where's AOC now? She's nowhere to be found whatsoever. If AOC actually gave a damn about these migrants, she would be down there at the border with the migrants, feeding them and clothing them and taking care of them, right? Like she pretended like she wanted to do under Trump. But she's not. Well, why is that? Because she never gave a damn about them, right? She never gave a damn, okay? They're not politically useful. It's not politically useful for Democrats to go down there and to take pictures with them the same way they want to take pictures and to hug them and play with them when Trump was in office. And this is what happens in politics, guys. The pendulum always swings the other way. All that rhetoric, all that virtue signaling that they did under the Trump administration has come back to bite them in the butt. It has come back to haunt them because now the mainstream liberal media has the expectation that the Democrats are so caring and loving that they're going to go down there and kiss the migrants on the cheek, right? And welcome into the country with open arms, okay? However, that's not the case, right? It's not the case. I mean, we are welcoming into the country, right? The border's basically open, but we're not taking care of them, okay? And I'm not saying that we necessarily should. I'm just saying that Democrats have their own crisis. These migrants are living in bad conditions. It's terrible. It is also negatively affecting the people in these border towns like El Paso and in the Rio Grande Valley. But, again, you don't see the Democrats down there taking photo ops and boohoo whining and crying on camera and doing interviews and hugging them and kissing them the same way they were under Trump. It's just funny how that works. And now, again, they have to live up to that expectation that Biden's in office, and none of them want to do that, right? Including the president himself. Again, it's just absolutely amazing. Again, this is how the Biden administration, this is how Democrats treat so-called minorities. They only love you when you are politically useful. However, when you're not politically useful anymore, they act like you don't exist. I wonder when these people are going to figure out the game from the Democrats. They play the same game every election cycle. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.